Oh shit, here we go again. Good evening, gentlemen. So I got a bunch of RAMs off of eBay to populate this card beyond 16K with and see if it'll work with the Org Zero card. So, as you can see, all of these nice static sensitive RAMs came shipped in stuck into a piece of regular styrofoam. So I think the first order of business is to go through and test all of them with my handy dandy, not this one, DRAM tester. Maybe you want to see this DRAM tester. It's a cheapy DRAM tester. This is for 1-bit DRAMs. I've got one for 4-bit DRAMs down there too. But there's this guy in England that makes these, and I mean they work pretty good. They're really simple to use. You just drop the little bastard into the socket and close the ZIF socket there. Well, you're supposed to apply power to the thing first, but I'm a retard. I keep forgetting that I'm not allowed to say retard on the internet anymore. I feel like such a retard for forgetting that so often. So yeah, of course, you know, everything's exposed on the bottom, so you gotta put it somewhere safe, right? So yeah, you just you plug the little bastard in, you drop your RAM in there, close the ZIF socket, and push the button. And with these particular RAMs, if the RAM is good, they all light up blue like that. So that one's fine, rock and roll. Now I just got to do all the rest of them. Something that I don't think I shill often enough is the Discord server. There's also a Matrix server, but it's always broken. Well, the bridge between Matrix and Discord's always broken, so I can't recommend it at this time. Someday I might, but probably will not get around to fixing it. But anyway, like, if you want to come hang out and chat about stuff on the Discord, you should do that. There's a link down below in the video description you can follow that will point you to all of those things. In an unexpected but pleasant surprise, all of the ICs that I've tested so far and put into this board have been A-OK, at least according to this tester, which hasn't failed yet that I know of. So I'm just testing the extras and putting them in a tube instead of that styrofoam. These are legit 1979 Fairchild chips here. So that's pretty cool, right? The board has 81 chips in it, except for that one that I had to doodly-do there. Every one of them has worked so far. I've got 10 more to test here. I got them in a lot. Excuse me. I bought them as a lot, 34 of them. I can't do math because I'm a retard. Oh, I can't say that. I can't do math because I'm challenged in the head. Such a retard, jeez. Yeah, so a lot of people will, like, tell horror stories about buying stuff like this on eBay and getting ripped off and fakes and stuff like that. And I have had some unpleasant eBay experiences, but most of the unpleasant experiences have been with, like, sellers of whole systems, like this machine. That was a fucking nightmare. Some tweaker was selling her dad's collection, and she was just abso-fucking-lutely nuts. Like, had to be on meth or something. Like, mentally unstable, crazy, psychotic, crazy person. Like, I restrict my search to sellers in North America, though. So, like, you end up paying a little bit more that way, but it's not worth the hassle to fuck around shipping stuff from China, and then, you know, you get a fake. What are you going to do about it? You know what I'm saying? I think that even though a lot of these sellers that say US seller are actually drop shipping from China, they're a little more cognizant about not ripping you off intentionally. So maybe that's why I haven't had any bad experiences to speak of buying fake chips. I've heard of people getting like fake straight off of AliExpress and stuff too. I don't know what the deal is with that. Yeah, let me finish these. I'm going to run out of space in my tube. I thought that for sure that tube was long enough. Yep. My tube was too short. Don't you hate that when your tube is too short to impress the chips? Okay, now that I'm finished being retarded, let me see if this god-awful contraption will boot now with this RAM card. If it doesn't, it's fine. The shitty RAM card has been modified to work with the, let's take the disk controller out to make it easier to get to things. It's probably not going to work. Okay, so this thing has a whole crap ton of different jumper settings on it. It's designed to work with either 8080 or Z80 timings. I assume that's for the refresh circuitry. Of course, I have all of the timing settings set for 8080 since we're using an 8080 CPU card. It has this bank of dip switches here that enable and disable RAM in 8K banks, and it has these four 16K bank switches down here that set whether each 16K bank is enabled or disabled at reset. This is because this card has its own I/O port scheme to switch these banks on and off, which were used in conjunction with a DG ROM that I believe operated in a weird way with the card, like in a non-Heathkit way or something like that. It has these jumpers here to set the port address of that I/O port, which are set to 377, right? 077. I need to double check that. That may be wrong, but it may not matter because we're not using the I/O port anyway. And then there's this board ID thing, because it's possible to have like 8 of these boards in a machine apparently with different board IDs, and then they can bank somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but to work with the ORG0 card, see the CPU card, when the ROM is enabled and the lower 8K is addressed, the CPU card, since the ROM is on the CPU card, this is something that I figured out just recently, so some of the stuff that I was talking about with that ROM on that disk controller and everything, that was incorrect in previous videos. But anyway, so like when the CPU card ROM is enabled and the ROM is addressed, the CPU card simply doesn't drive the bus. I think it might drive it on writes but not reads. I'd have to look at the schematic again. In any case, that would allow you to write to a location that was occupied by ROM and have it actually go to the RAM. I can't remember if it actually does that or not. It may not, which may be why 16K wasn't enough to use this XCON 8, DIR ROM in this machine, because I think it may copy the entire ROM into another part of memory, and then execute that, and then switch the ROM off so that the whole memory bank is map is RAM, right? I I have to review that. But yeah, so to make the RAM card work right with the Org0 card, we just have to enable all of the RAM over the entire memory map, and then when the ROM is banked in, it simply doesn't address the bus, so the RAM doesn't get accessed. So that this doesn't actually monitor the ROM disable line on the bus or anything like that. It has a port that it can drive that line with, but the Org0 card does that for us, so that port is disabled right now. So, or at least the line is disabled, the port's still there. Let me double check this port setting just in case. I think it's supposed to be 377, but surely not. It can't be. It's got to be 077 like it's set to. I'm going to check it anyway, because I'm stupid. And then we'll stick it in and see whether or not my tube is too short. Was that stupid camera out of focus again? I'm sorry, guys. This thing is getting all janky. I'm going to have to just replace it, I think. Yeah, it is supposed to be 077. I think that has got to be the right jumper settings for that card to work in Org0 mode. It was working fine with the lower 8K disabled, with the PAM8 ROM, with only 16K in it, which would have been 8K since the lower 8K was disabled. So, I don't know, man. Let's see if the console comes up. It did. Okay. Excellent. So, I guess it's working. So we just didn't have enough RAM on that board for XCON 8 to run. Excellent. Excellent. Cool, cool, cool. So, I think the next order of business, I still, this is really embarrassing, guys. Oh. I think the monitor crashed there. But it reset just fine. I'm gonna run the memory test on this thing. Alright, I blocked that thing up so you guys can see it alright. Oh, I didn't put the frickin' disk controller back in, but that doesn't matter because the disk controller doesn't have a ROM on it anymore. But let's put it back in there anyway. Try to keep it up close to the memory card, because if I put the memory card way back here, it doesn't work. Well, it hasn't crashed yet. I remembered what else I was going to say before I got retarded again. I guess the next order of business is to get some disk drives working. Because I am, as I mentioned before, in mental decline apparently, I can't find my virtual sector generator that I made a while back. So I bought another kit. So I'm going to have to assemble another virtual sector generator. It comes with all of the parts. This is the one that's made by, the kit that's made by FarmTech. It's a nice little board, easy to put together. There isn't a lot to it. It's just I think it's like a pick or something that just intercepts the sector pulses and inserts its own after it figures out the rotation speed. So that's pretty cool. Runs off a 9-volt battery. I don't have any more 9 volts. Ah! It failed at 325. Let me write that down. I'm going to start the memory test again. Interesting. I don't know if that will be bad memory or bad funny business. See there, the whole thing crashed again. That was 325, right? But if I reset it, it comes right back up. I don't know, man. I'm just going to let this run, see if it crashes at the same place again. So I don't know exactly how this thing copies the ROM into RAM when it boots. I don't know if it boots off of the ROM, which copies itself into higher memory, and then it jumps up there, switches the ROM off, and copies itself back down into lower memory, because it's got to be in the lower 8K for HDOS to work right? So I don't know if it copies itself into high memory and then back into low memory, or if it does something where when the ROM is enabled, writes go through to the RAM, so it can just go through and like write itself, and it goes through to the RAM when it does that, and then it can just switch the ROM off and keep executing from the same program counter. You know what I'm saying? I don't know which way it does it, but if the monitor is crashing, that makes me think that if we've got a RAM problem, it's going to be in that lower area, that lower 8K, where the ROM is copied into RAM, right? And given that there was one bad chip down there before, which is why I had to do that 41256 hackery, I was just going to keep using all those. If it craps out again here, I think I might just go ahead and replace that lower 16K as well. I've got plenty of ICs for that, and it would solve my short tube problem. Is it going to fail at the same place? It failed at 325 before. Let's see. Nope. I'm very suspicious of that low 16K now. Oh! Now it fucked out at 345. It's supposed to go to 377. I'm gonna wait here a minute and see if the monitor crashes again. See if there's something wrong in that lower 16K and the program space where the monitor is running is getting fucked up. That might explain why it's testing RAM bad that may not be, right? Maybe I'm just kind of, I may be full of shit. I don't know. Let me replace the rest of that RAM on that thing and see what happens. Okay, let's try this again with different RAM. And see what happens. And in the spirit of my apparent cognitive decline, true international depression. So I don't know if it has anything to do with anything or not. I'm more suspicious of that low 16K than anything else. But when I found bad tantalum capacitors on these boards, I replaced them with electrolytic capacitors, and those are just you know, like power filter capacitors. It shouldn't make a whole lot of difference, I wouldn't think. Tantalums have a lower ESR, I think, generally, but I mean, it ought to be fine. I do notice that this great big ass heatsink on this RAM card, well, it's not anymore. Huh. Well, before I replaced that low 16K, it was getting very warm, as if those linear regulators were working overtime. But now it's fine. Maybe some of that RAM's fucked up. I don't know. I should have gotten my thermals out and tried to look at it through those, but they're like mounted on a bridge in a helmet. I can't. It's not like a thermal camera. Like, it's hard to record through. I have to stick my phone up to the eyepiece, and it's not for YouTubing. It's not even for being a thermal camera per se. It's for gooning. I think it's gonna make it. Look at that. Counting my chickens before they hatcheroo, aren't I? My golly, if that fixes the whole shenanigan, oh, it has to go to 377. See? Retarded. Oh, so dumb. Alright, so it looks like it's about to make one pass through the memory test successfully. Yes, okay. But I didn't have the H17 controller installed this time. Let's put that in there and see if that changes anything. I'm trying not to get my head in front of the camera. That is why it is so difficult to stick these cards in here right, because my head is full of hair, which is gross, and you don't want to see that, do you? Let's run the memory test again. And with the H17 controller in there. Oh, did you see that? I bubble dedumped it. Oh. 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 Oh, the heatsink. The heatsink on the controller board is touching the back of the memory card over one of these power rails and shorting something out and causing the thing to crash. Isn't that something? Oh shit, I forgot to turn the power off when I did that. I didn't want to hurt anything. It'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong? Alright. I'll let it run again. That was really stupid. That was really stupid. See how stupid I am? It's really something. It's like, I couldn't be stupider if I tried. Alright, it's gone through a few times. I think it's working fine. I don't have time to work on the disk drive enclosure this evening. It's getting a little on into the evening, and I need to quit and do some other stuff. So, hopefully if I'm not too whipped tomorrow, we'll get those disk drives working and see if we can figure out how to write some disk images. It's going to be rough. There's some software to transfer them over a serial port, but it's all either DOS or Windows software. I may just have to write my own client program for Linux instead. The protocol doesn't look too complicated. Anyway, I'm just going to let this run a while. Maybe until tomorrow. See what happens. See you tomorrow.